Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars. Come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Not the usual opening for a Friday, but we're coming in late and hot, and because I just got into my office. So yeah, anyway, so current mood, burn it down from Nickelback. Kind of how I'm feeling today. We're gonna get into all of this live on the shortened edition of the Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show, live right here on KLRMradio.com. So we're gonna cram as much content into 2 hours as we normally cram into 3, and I know, giggity. But we're here, we're live. I see some of you have found the stream and are starting to file in, so make sure you are liking the feed, sharing the feed, telling your friends about the feed, even if you hate me, especially if you hate me. Trolling people in chat is always fun. Anyway, so we're here, we're live, and it's Friday. So without further ado, I was going to start with the Bondi rant, but since not much has dropped there, we're going to come back to that shortly. There's been some breaking news while I was in the car. So we're going to discuss the fireworks in the Oval. And if you've missed it, then I have at least some of it right here. I do believe. I don't have a producer, so I've been scrambling to get things together in like 13 minutes total, counting the breaks. And well, actually, I guess about 11 because I've been talking for almost 2. So anyway, so here we go with this. And from what I've heard, there was an interesting exchange in the Oval Office today. And if you've heard it already, then I apologize for nothing.
You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, "Hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal?" That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America and for the good of the world. I'm aligned with the world, and I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred, and I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
I will respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
and I think this is the part we've been waiting for.
Our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014.
2014 and
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
that's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him. A lot of conversations.
But whose fault is it that nobody stopped him? None of our people were in charge back then.
Like a new president, in 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire, all of them told me that he will never go. We signed with him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broke this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is
Have I mentioned how much I love this guy?
destruction of your country?
A lot of questions.
Van
Let's start from the
2028,
beginning.
motherfuckers.
During the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
You will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and
of
he
the
happens
war.
to be right about
From the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't
was
have
in
the
it.
cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
I'm very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think
You're
you-
gambling with World War III.
What do you think
You're
about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War III. And
You-
what you're doing is very
Somebody's finally
disrespectful
saying
to
it.
the country, this country.
Why did it have to
That's
be
back
one
to you.
man?
Far more
Just
than a lot of
don't
people
hate me
said
for it.
they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition
Here
in
comes
October.
another mic drop.
Offer some words of appreciation for the United States
are
of
you
America
speaking about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country's
Can I-
in big
can I-
trouble.
can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid
thank-
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about West
If you
Indies?
didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times
that there,
thank you
except
to
that-
American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't please,
you're running
Mr.
low
President.
on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look. If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're
I
saying
said-
you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a
with
ceasefire.
guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
it doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what
That
what
wasn't
is-
with me.
It
That was
wasn't
with
you.
a guy named Biden who was not a smart person.
This
That
is
was
your-
with,
this
that
is
was with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to this Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make,
Um,
because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do you do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great.
All right, so I think that's where we're going to leave it because that covers the parts that I wanted to discuss today. And I'm just going to be completely honest. I am glad the American people are getting to see this, and I understand the left is going to have a completely different take on this. But for just a moment, because I know I have everybody from all stripes that listens to this show. Most of them that don't like me listen on the replays, and then they talk trash to me in email, etc. I don't care about any of that. For just a moment, I want you to remove whatever letter you feel you align with behind your name. And I just want you to think about something honestly for a moment. Could you imagine how the media would be acting if Zelensky had come into the White House and talked to a Democrat that way? Could you imagine? Now, the things to keep in mind, and this is something that I think is very important. They accused Russia of interfering in our election for purchasing roughly $150,000 worth of Facebook ads. As somebody who's run businesses, that is a drop in the bucket when it comes to Facebook ads, and it doesn't get you in front of very many people. But so to put the shoe on the other foot, you fast forward what? It's 4 years? And then you've got this guy who's trying to trash talk and litigate to the American people about how it's not fair that we're telling him he needs to stop the war and work with us so that we can stop the war, so his people stop dying. And you've got him going to what was arguably the most important swing state in the election and campaigning for the other side. Now, you want to talk to me about election interference? Seriously? You really want to talk to me about election interference? These guys are not our friends. The reason the Biden family did everything that they did is because they were using Ukraine to launder money. And if you don't believe me, look at everything that we've uncovered about the USAID, which was a giant CIA front, Democrat, leftist money laundering program. And that's all it was used for. It was a perpetual angst machine. It was perpetually funded by Democrat donors who went to work for the government, making high six figures, pouring more money back in so that they could start sowing discord around the world because they think the only thing that matters is making people understand that they're born in the wrong bodies. This is the world that we're living in today. This is the world that we're fighting against today. And if you don't believe we're at war, I would like to remind you about what happened yesterday. Now, I'm just as mad at Pam Bondi as everybody else because I think she severely dropped the ball by trying to grandstand on the Jesse Waters show. And I'm mad about it because she could have just been honest and said, look, I have a bunch of stuff on my desk. I've gone through it. I'm reaching out to the FBI, SDNY, and they are not responding because I'm trying to find out if I have everything. Once I know, you will know. That would have stopped all of that for me. Not this, we have information, you're going to see some of it and it's terrible, and then it gets released and it's the same things that we saw yesterday. This is the monster that we're fighting everywhere, on all fronts, and unfortunately all at once, because that's how bad it has gotten. You have a foreign leader coming into our house and trying to extort us. Now, the left isn't going to tell it to you that way, but that's exactly what he just tried to do. Because everybody in that room, he came for an express purpose. Everybody knew what it was. It was to sign a deal so that we could start recouping some of the money that we have put back into this mess, which I know a lot of people, that puts a really bad taste in my mouth. It kind of feels like we're turning the White House into a mafia house. I don't care. Guys, I don't understand when we became the pearl clutchers in the room. When did that happen? Because we used to be the kick ass and take names people in the room. When did we change? Because I didn't. I am a student of history. I know what our founding fathers did. And let me tell you something. If the World Court existed in 1776, they would have been tried and convicted of war crimes for the things that they did. Everything they did violated norms for warfare. Remember how stupid warfare used to be? They used to march out onto the field to the cadence of a drummer, start doing a countdown, and then the front line kneeled, and the back line started shooting, and the front line started shooting, and everybody just stood there and took it. It's like fucking the entire war used to be turn-based D&D games. You know, our folks didn't fight that way. They snuck across rivers in the middle of the night and slashed throats. That would have been a war crime back then. We act like we are some sort of civilized group, and this is nuts. Well, of course, Jody, of course, Karl Rove is saying it was a mistake to do it publicly. Karl Rove is the queen of the pearl clutching crowd within the GOP. I am so sick of these people. Sorry, I'm responding to the chat for those of you that aren't in there. But I am so sick of these people. And if you're not in there, you should hop into X at KLRM Radio or at RowdyRick73. Either one. The more active chat is usually the at KLRM Radio, but I put it up on the screen, so it doesn't really matter where you're chatting from. They can usually see most, if not all of it. Sometimes the X chat gets a little crazy, cuts off a couple words or a couple syllables here and there. But I say all of this because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of all of it. I'm tired of us being bent over the world stage. And I've been talking about this now for months, if not years, because it's insane to me. I mean, we were expecting him to come into the Oval Office and sign a deal to protect his country. And instead, he's like, I'm not getting what I want out of this. What is it you want, Mr. Zelensky? Are you pushing for American troops to be on the ground? Because that ain't happening. Maybe as part of a peacekeeping force later when we're protecting our own interests, but not during a hot war, not with Russia. That's not going to happen. And it shouldn't happen. That's one of the reasons why, and I still haven't been able to determine if this was some sort of fake video or not. One of the things that pissed me off was when I saw supposedly Ukrainian soldiers ripping the American flag patches because they're Velcroed on off of their hats in so-called protest. And I'm like, why are they wearing our flags on the field of battle anyway? Because that gives the impression that American troops are there. That in and of itself could have sparked World War III if it was actually happening. And Donald Trump was right about one thing. Zelensky is rolling the dice against World War III. And I'm sorry, that is a bet that I'm not willing to take or to make. So yes, again, I am glad this played out right in front of the American people. And as soon as I'm done with the show here, I'm going to turn on a lot of the leftist folks once I get back from running a couple errands and watch all their heads explode and talk about what a terrible thing this was. But I'm going to tell you it's not, because Donald Trump has been trying to tell us for forever that Zelensky is the one that's acting like a mob boss, not us. He has been going to the American people and litigating his case when he didn't get what exactly he wanted, either from Obama or from Biden. And he's been allowed to do it over and over and over again. And the gall of the man who campaigned against the other side and the other side lost, to then come in and be like, well, I don't like this deal, and I don't really want a ceasefire. Not unless we're getting all the land back that Obama took in, or Obama allowed to be taken in 2014 and 2015. Let me tell you something, folks. That is not happening. It's definitely not happening today. It is something that might have been able to be litigated later, but it ain't happening today. The other thing that everybody seems to forget is a lot of things precipitated this. A lot of things precipitated this. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization started making noise about letting them in there, which, again, I'm going to point this out. If the Warsaw Pact Treaty still existed in somewhere like Mexico or Canada, all of a sudden decided to try to petition for entry, what do you think we would have done? Exactly. Aggie in the chat. Roe has no room to talk about diplomacy ever. Roe has no room to talk about much of anything because there are a lot smarter people now that have stolen his whiteboard thing. Glenn Beck for one. The whiteboard thing is not exclusively yours anymore, Mr. Roe. Have a seat. Or Rove, sorry. I don't want to insult Mike Roe because I like that guy. But anyway, so we are going to take a quick break because I've been, like I said, I have been running like crazy today to get here to even do the shorter show. I had planned on trying to do a full show, but traffic and a bunch of other factors were not my friends in this endeavor, which is why we're only doing 2 hours. I would go longer, but I have to play bus driver. And plus, I'm back with Aggie tonight anyway, so you're still going to have to put up with more of me. That's right. You get me again tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, otherwise known as Aggie time. For He Said, She Said, with the lovely Aggie Rican, who's hanging out in my chat room right now. I might swoon or something. I don't know. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is. If getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
O'Reilly. This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Celebrity designer Jeff Lewis is back with Hollywood House Lift.
I'm excited to be working with new clients.
I'm not getting rid of that.
I hope I never see you both again.
An all-new season.
Those have to go. That has to go.
From oh, wow,
It's been an actual nightmare.
to oh, wow.
This is such an upgrade.
With celebrities like Josh Duhamel, Christina Ricci, and Gina Rodriguez. Dance with me, Jeff.
It looks like Chuck E. Cheese.
Stream an all-new season of Hollywood House Lift with Jeff Lewis, now streaming on Freevee.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
You hear that, Pam Bondi and Cash Patel? Whatever it takes. Speaking of which, I did a spin around the old interwebs looking for updates about the Epstein files. Guess what I found? Take a guess. Take a guess. You ready? There was an 8 a.m. Eastern deadline, ma'am. What are you doing? That was 7 my time. It is now 1:33 and 38 seconds p.m. Eastern time. And I have no updates from you or your office about anything you are planning to do on what appears to be an open insurrection and potential treason. And I don't use those words lightly at all. But again, remember, I opened the program outlining with you the various things that we are fighting all at once. We've got Donald Trump trying to pull together peace in between Russia and Ukraine. We've got Donald Trump trying to hold together peace between Israel and Gaza. We've got Israel making a stand about Iran is not going to be allowed to become a nuclear nation, which is going to make all of that even harder. So again, and I'm not faulting them for that. I don't think Iran should have the ability to be nuclear, not even for power purposes, because they'll just abuse it because we know them. But I say all of this to you because everybody's acting like there aren't a million different things all happening all at once. I mean, and I think that maybe one of the reasons why Pam Bondi has not made any announcements or anything today, because I think they wanted the focus to be on the Zelensky meeting, because I think they may have expected something different to happen than the fireworks that happened. And I didn't stay with all of it, so I don't know how it ended. I don't know if at some point we're going to get an announcement that he went ahead and signed the agreement or whatever. I just know that right now this is a bad look for Ukraine, and it's a bad look for the rest of the world. Now, the left and all of the major outlets, which I would like to remind you, have been on the take from the left now for God knows how long, are going to be trying to spin this the other way because they're still holding out against hope that at some point, some judge is going to make Donald Trump unfreeze all the USAID cash, and then they're going to be able to bring back all the people they're slowly firing because they can't afford to pay them anymore. This is the America that we live in. We have become the very thing that we used to say we wanted to fight. We are a giant propaganda machine, both without and within. And the people that are trying to show you that we are a giant propaganda machine funded by a bunch of crazy ideas and crazy people that have been secretly pulling levers and switches behind the scenes are the ones that are being called out for trying to prove to you how broken everything is. This is the insanity that we live in today. This is the insanity that we are fighting against today. And I, for one, will not stop. I know a lot, and I'm one of them. I'm going to be completely honest. I was really pissed off about what happened yesterday with the Epstein files because that never should have happened that way. This was an easy conversation and a softball that Pam Bondi could have knocked out of the park with Jesse Waters. She could have said, there's some things that I can't really tell you yet that I'm going to be working on in the next couple of days. I have a lot of the information on my desk, but I'm not sure I have all of it. What I have gone through It's stuff that you guys have already been able to see. So once I have new information and we've been able to verify that we can release it, because there are some things that are going on that you guys may not know about yet, then we will definitely do that. That would have been a very simple thing. And then she could have taken fire against the SD and YFBI branch and been like, hey, I've been asking you guys for this stuff for forever. You told me at first I had all of it. Now I know I don't. So where's the rest of it? And that would have made yesterday completely different. But that was just bad optic part number one. Because then you have our brand of Brooklyn Dad and JoJo from Jersey doing grinning photo ops with the binders, which is a very bad look when you're talking about the topic that we're talking about. Even she on Jesse Waters said there's over 200, and I'm sorry, closer to 250 victims were her exact words. And the very next day, she's got our version of social media influencers, and I say ours loosely, posing with binders in front of the White House. Now, I don't know whose idea that was, but that was terrible. Because guess what? Every time idiots like Harry Sisson and everybody else got trotted out in front of the White House, pardon me, we were the first ones pointing, laughing, and in most cases, laughing until we started crying. And then all of a sudden, we're doing the same things. Now, let me tell you the other thing that made this look really, really bad. Because one of the things that organizations like mine have been banking on is the idea that we are the media now, because nobody was listening to the big people anymore, not as much. And that the keys to the information gates had been seized, and that people were going to start being able to get their news and information from the people that they chose to get their news and information from. And then you had some of the most prolific and not always accurate. I love them because I get to write about them all the time, but they're not always accurate, and that's part of the stuff that I get to write about. Social media influencers on the right posing with a bunch of binders instead of putting it out and I know Data Republican has become kind of one of those people because she's exploded, but she wasn't when she started. But look at what she managed to do because she was willing to take the time to go through and start looking at things because she's a data person. These are the things that I'm talking about. You are stopping people from being able to do what needs to be done because you are starting to limit the access and flow of information. I'm sorry, I disagree with that. I don't care. I don't care whose names are on it. And here's the thing, folks. One of three things is going on. One, either the SDNY FBI office has the information and they're refusing to release it. Two, the SDNY FBI office had the information and it's all been destroyed. So there's smoke screening to make sure that nobody knows that one of our premier law enforcement agencies destroyed evidence. Or three, and this is the one that I find least likely, but would probably piss me off the most. There are friends of the administration on this list, so they are the ones smoke screening, even if it's not coming directly from the top, to try to delay or stop the release of the names. There's only one of that's one of three. That's it. It's one of those three things, and I'm going to tell you right now. I'm pretty sure it's door number 2. I will bet you dollars to donuts that most of the stuff that the FBI Southern District of New York branch is hiding is stuff that are supposedly hiding is stuff that's already been destroyed. But one of the things they're trying to use as a smokescreen, which should have been brought up by Pam Bondi when she was sitting on Jesse Waters, because it's not like she hasn't been an attorney general before. She was an attorney general for one of the biggest states in the country. So it's not like she hasn't done this job before. So when he asked, why have we not seen it yet and when are we going to be able to see it, she probably should have mentioned, because I'm assuming she should have known that Ghislaine Maxwell has filed an appeal that was filed in January of 2025, which may hamper the release of some of the information that we are trying to declassify. That should have been one of the first things that she said. Then she could have went into the rest of it and said, hey, I have a lot of it on my desk. I've gone through it. It's kind of ick, but I think it's stuff that you guys have already seen. And I have been reaching out to other field offices. She never even mentioned them by name, because the thing about it is, if you look in trust me, what I cheated. I basically fed all of it into Grok and had him summarize it. And he pointed out that there were several different offices involved in this, and it was spanning several years, and there was tons of data points and a lot of redacted things that made it harder for Grok to be able to draw a conclusion. But there were wide sweeping charges and years worth of investigation that centered around several people that were named in the warrants. So all I'm saying is that's really all she had to say is, look, I have hundreds of pages of data. I think a lot of it is stuff you guys have seen before, but just in case it's not, we're going to go ahead and release it tomorrow. I have been in contact with field offices that have more information to verify to see if I have it all, and I haven't heard back from some of them yet. It would have been all it took to stop everything that happened yesterday. Because what made it even worse, in my opinion, and that's all this is, so take it with a grain of salt, is telling us that we were going to get. So here's the thing, and I caught this, and I don't think anybody else did, because halfway through the conversation with Jesse Waters, she said, "Well, you're going to get some information tomorrow," and then a few minutes later, when he kept pushing, "Well, you're going to see some of it maybe tomorrow," and that was one of the first things I picked up on because she was all of a sudden she was couching. And that's when I knew she knew something that we didn't. But that's the thing. She could have taken what was a terrible day on its face and a terrible PR day for this administration. And it was one of the only ones that was this bad because there were several things that kind of blew up all at once yesterday. There was the nothing burger, and what's worse is they did two different releases of some of the same information. Now, I will admit there was one piece of information that I hadn't seen in the second drop, but I'm like, this is all stuff that most of us already knew about. And I get maybe not all the American people did. And that's why she should have said, I'm going to release what I have, but I'm still verifying information and still working with other field offices to make sure that we have it all. So for a lot of you and she should have just said it like this. The people that watch this show, Jesse, have probably seen all of this already, but we're going to put it out anyway for the people that maybe haven't so they can start seeing exactly the scope of this thing. Because I will tell you the one thing that surprised me, because I hadn't looked at all of it, just the bits and pieces that had come out several years ago, was the scope and the amount of time that they were involved in this investigation. I mean, this thing went on for years. So some of it even surprised me a little bit. And I know there's people that don't eat, sleep, and breathe news cycles and politics the way that I do. So if she would have just said, I'm going to release what I know that we have, and I am talking to several other offices to make sure that we have it all. And once I know for sure if there's anything else that needs to be released, you guys will know. And just so you know, for those of you that eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, you've probably already seen it, but I still want to put it in front of the American people anyway. And once we have more, we will definitely do that. Would have stopped all of this. Then we wouldn't have had what looked like, because that was the thing, right? So the link gets put out because I work for Town Hall as a freelancer. Technically Salem, but Town Hall specifically because Twitchy's one of their brands. So one of the managers from Town Hall sent out the FBI information and said, as far as I know, this is the stuff that everybody got in the binders. So we started combing through it as soon as we saw it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm doing it live on the air, and I'm just like, there's nothing new here at all. And then that was right around this that just a few minutes before that, the social media post dropped, and then you had the people that supposedly had the binders talking about how bad it was and how many names were in there. And I'm looking through this and I'm like, dude, I don't see any other names than the ones that we already knew about. And then we had even folks like Juanita, I think it was Juanita Broderick, started name dropping about 10 o'clock last night. And I'm like, dude, I've seen this stuff. None of this is in here. So I started just look, I just need a citation. Just tell me where you're getting these names from because everything that I've seen doesn't have these in there. Never got a response. But this is the part that concerns me. Because if we are going to start doing the same things that the zombie media do, why do we deserve the keys? And I get it. It's human nature. I understand that. But that's part of what we're trying to change. That was the entire reason and premise for the experiment known as creating the country of America, because we wanted to start undoing human nature. Human nature has always been about the strong dominating the weak. It's always been what it's about. And it's a nature thing. It's how we've survived. It's how we evolved. But once we started being able to reason, we started figuring out, maybe we don't need to be ruled by kings. And maybe we don't need these bloodlines that, they do everything they can to hold on to their bloodline, which means they do some really weird shit. Like marrying cousins. Ugh. Maybe we don't need any of that. Maybe we can figure out how we can rule ourselves. But then the problem with that was everybody forgets that when folks started coming over here from the old world to the new world, some of them were aristocrats. So there has been an interwoven thing all throughout our history trying to recreate what they had over there. And they have managed to do it fairly well. The left screaming about oligarchs is one of the funniest things that I've ever heard in my life. These people that are supposed to be making $250,000 a year that are worth the lowest paid one, the lowest net worth one that I know of is $4 million. Some of the other ones are in 12, 14, 16, 18, 40, $80 million. And they're supposed to be making $250,000 a year. I will understand. I will be honest. If I was able to live in Oklahoma and made $250,000 a year, within about 10 or 15 years, I would have that kind of net worth because it wouldn't be that hard. So I understand that not all of it is done through nefarious means. But when you have the same folks that we are paying a salary, suddenly that are able to, say, well, I think this particular publicly traded company should get a contract. And because they know that's about to go through, all of a sudden they're like, we should buy that stock. And here's the thing. Because it happens with presidents and everything else. While they are actively in office, anybody that is either the Congress critter or a direct dependent or partner of the Congress critter, I'm sorry, any investments they have should be locked into a blind trust that they cannot touch. Because we've watched them, all of them, get rich over and over and over again. And how each side gets rich, and this is one of the things that has pissed me off for as long as I've been doing this, is most of the time when the letter behind the name of the person that's in charge changes, the only thing that really changes is where the money goes. Now, the reason this pissed me off as much as it did yesterday is we've now found out that in this new economy, because there is a new emerging economy, information is power. Because if you have access to social media and you have information, you can put it out and you can be the one to break a story. And before you know it, you're a brand new account that's been around for 3 days and has 120,000 followers. Now, that's a bad example because he's basically he or she has taken a shtick and just kind of, openly made fun of people. And a lot of people are mad at him about that. I will admit I was belly aching. I'm actually impressed because I have been on this platform since 2015. And I have tried to be serious and I've tried to bring information and I've tried to be funny when warranted, things like that. But I never just really thought about just openly trolling people. And it seems to be that's what resonates on this platform, which is again, I guess, human nature, but still seems weird to me. But I say all of this to you because now in this new emerging economy, information is power. Information is what can get you paid. The more information you have, the quicker you can disseminate it. The first person that you are to break said story, the more views you get, the more impressions you get, which means if it gets big enough, the more payment you get. This is part of the problem. And this is why this has been a double-edged sword for a very long time, because now you have people whose only interest is just like with the mainstream media, being first with the story and be damned the consequences, because if I can get it blown up enough, I can make bank and keep making bank until it either falls off or as long as I can keep the momentum going. I have a problem with that. You should have a problem with that. Because I'm sorry, I might not have any formal journalistic training. I'm working on trying to fix that, but I haven't been able to find the time to get back to school because I do like 8 million things a week. But it should bother you that now we have freelancers and people that are working through social media that are making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of impressions a day, peddling false information. Now, I'm not saying that they deserve to have their account stripped away or anything else because you know what? Free speech is free speech is free speech. But if you're going to present yourself as a member of what is emerging as an alternative media, then you should have the self-governing scruples to try to at least make sure your information is accurate and correct. I'm not saying that we don't all make mistakes. There have been plenty of times that I have run with a story and or put something out on social media and then realized that I got half of it wrong. Case in point, with USAID itself, it was founded by John F. Kennedy in the 60s through executive order. I had missed the point that at some point in the 90s, I think it was 1998, under the Clinton administration, Congress had actually codified it by passing a law. So I missed that point. So when everybody was throwing a fit about it in the beginning, I'm like, wait. This was done through executive order, which means it can be undone by executive order. And working with a very smart team of people that I do in between Twitchy and KLR and Radio and Digital Beacon US and working with the folks at Misfits Politics, I have a really smart core group of people that are like, hey, you need to look this up because this actually got changed by law in 1998. And I'm like, oh shit, it did. But here's the thing with that, and this was when I changed my tact with it. That law simply means that USAID, or as I call it now, USSAID, must exist and must be funded. So you know what? Move it to a bathroom stall in the basement and put USAID on the wall and fund it with $1 because then you're following the exact letter of the law. And as far as I'm concerned, the only intent the law would care about with this democratic, leftist, communist money grubbing, money laundering scheme BS that they've had going on now for forever. All right, so on the way out to break, we're going to cover one more story because this one, I have to admit, this one kind of made my head hurt. We've got some clips we're going to be playing, though, so I got to get them fixed up. Hang on just a second. Because, yeah, the left has a new attack vector on none other than Elon Musk. And I think this one might make your head hurt a little bit because I was confused by this tact, but they took it anyway. So hang on, here we go. Here's the first one.
Mr. Musk has just been here 22 years, and he's a citizen of 3 countries. I always ask myself the question, with the damage he's doing here, when push comes to shove, which country is he loyalty to? South Africa? Canada? Or the United States? And he's only been a citizen, I'll say again, 22 years.
He's only been a citizen. Hang on, let me fix this. He's only been a citizen for 22 years. And he's got multi-citizenship. So which one of those countries is he actually more loyal to? The United States or one of the other places that he has citizenship with? But I'm sorry, the last I checked, I thought the left liked immigrants. Or is it that they like illegal immigrants and migrants? Because this guy, and they keep trying to push this, right? This is the part that makes me nuts. They keep trying to push this idea that he's an illegal immigrant, and he's not. But here's Joy Behar with the next of the hit parade.
Musk kisses his butt and strokes his tiny ego or big ego, whatever it is, and he doesn't get to do. He can take a nap while the guy who was not born in this country, who was born under apartheid in South Africa, so has that mentality going on. He was pro-apartheid, as I understand it.
He's a naturalized citizen,
right?
Now.
He's a naturalized
Now he's
citizen.
a naturalized citizen.
Oh, really? How did he do that? Did he come over the border legally?
He had an H-1B visa, I
He
believe.
flew in.
Yeah, he allegedly overstayed that visa.
Yeah, but I think this is just perfectly wonderful for Trump. He can take a nap and let this foreign agent, an enemy of the United States, do his job.
Anybody else?
I don't like Elon. I wouldn't go as far as to necessarily call him an enemy of the United States yet. Let's give him a little bit of time.
All right, so let's take this part piece by piece. Yes, there are reports that Elon Musk may have actually overstayed his visa, but at least he took the process to apply for a visa. And at the time, pretty much nobody gave a shit. Now he is, of course, a naturalized citizen. Now, let's also look at the rest of the argument, because again, if he overstayed his visa, Wouldn't that make him a friend of you guys? Because that's what you like, right? Is people that use any means necessary to get into the country, and then no matter what, they stay. Because those are the people that you want here, because those are the people that build our houses and pick our vegetables and raise our children for us because we're too lazy to do all of that. That's the argument they use. But I would like to point out that this is the same argument that has been used since slavery was a thing. And I would like to point out that they are actually talking about just yet another version of slavery. Because, yes, while people have access to money and they're getting handouts from the government, they are not living in the means that they could possibly live in if they were able to come out of the shadows. So yeah, breaking and getting reports from the chat because I haven't done the news feed spin around yet that I usually do at the top of the hour. Looks like Zelensky was escorted out of the White House early with absolutely no ceremony at all. So I keep every time somebody says anything like that, all I can think about, and it was the same thing that I kind of wanted to see when Joe Biden's moving van pulled up. Remember the closing or the opening credits of the Fresh Prince back in the day when at one point they show him like being tossed out of the mansion. Yeah, that's kind of what just ran through my head. But yeah, so look, you can say what you want about all this stuff. You really can, and I get it. If you don't like Elon Musk because he's getting way too much attention, and but yeah, anyway, just stop because you're not helping your case when you guys are the same ones that are screaming and yelling about how important it is that the people that came here illegally get to stay here and that we give them a path to citizenship. Because guess what? If anything, you should be touting Elon as a success story for the very thing that you've been calling for. And that honestly might be a take that would stick. Because you could say, look, the same president who wants all the people that have overstayed their visas tossed across the border has brought in someone who, to his administration, who originally overstayed his visa and was yet still allowed to naturalize as a citizen. That could be a take that might take hold and might even wake some people up about some of this stuff. Because I'm not necessarily saying that every single one of them need to leave. I do have a soft spot for the kids that have been here for forever. And the problem is, I mean, we're talking about Obama wanted to do something all the way back in 2008. We're talking about kids that were already in their 20s and that have been here for forever. And he wanted to do something between 2009 and when he eventually left office in 2017. And did do a lot of things through executive order that everybody was like, holy shit, you can't do that. That's not how any of that works. And now we see, and this is one of the reasons why we fought against it, because now we saw Trump doing a lot of things in his first term do it through executive order. Now the court at the time in the beginning, because it was still leaning the other way, said no, you can't do that. And then the court got changed, and then suddenly it's you can do that. But this whole thing, I only like it when it suits me. I'm kind of tired of that game. I really am. And I get it. Right now we're having to fight fire with fire. There are things that we have been doing on our side that I wouldn't necessarily support usually. But the thing about it is all right, so I'm going to put this up on the screen. Sorry, the chat is helping me with my research today because they knew I came in hot, so they're like finding stuff for me. So hang on, 1 second. This is why I love my chat, because half the time they're like, "Hey, we got this." I'm like, sweet, let's find it because I keep hitting the wrong button. So this is from John Jackson. I have a friend by that name, who basically said Zelensky just got kicked out of the White House. Press conference canceled. Oh, wow. Without our cash in hand for a change. Sorry, I'm just reading through some of the comments. So this is from John Jackson. Zelensky just got kicked out of the White House. Press conference canceled. He's actually quote tweeting another person who said Trump appears to have kicked Zelensky out of the White House. His motorcade is pulling up to the West Wing now. This was 38 minutes ago was when the original post happened. and then this one came out at 12:33. So then, of course, everybody started responding. Showed the drunk cat going down the stairs. Looks like, I think, something that looks remarkably like Arthur the Aardvark kicking somebody else. From Morgan, get your midget disrespectful ass out of here. Hit the bricks, midget, from Carl. Brandy, of course, just laughing. Uh-oh. Nice. He's even getting cussed out in other languages. I love it when that happens. All right. Anyway, so yeah, apparently no deal was reached. Zelensky was tossed out on his ass, and I'm sorry, I kind of feel like he deserved it. All right, so we are long because I wanted to look into that. So we're going to take a quick break. No ceremony on this one either. We're just going to get another break. We'll be right back. Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Believe it or not, that was not intentional, but it was the perfect opening for this hour. Welcome into the final hour of the abbreviated Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show, live right here on KLRN Radio. And that was pretty much Donald Trump's message to Zelensky, is I will not give everything away. And then Zelensky was summarily thrown out of the Oval and the White House after acting a fool. Now, I will say that according to a story that I've been able to find through Town Hall, this is from Katie Pavlich, Trump and Vance give Zelensky a reality check during wild Oval Office meeting. This is the update that was tied to that. President Trump has kicked Zelensky out of the White House. A planned press conference and a lunch have been canceled. Zelensky left the campus early. The critical minerals deal Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said was a done deal on Thursday was not signed as planned. So here are the quotes. We had a very meaningful meeting in the White House. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. It's amazing what comes out through emotion, and I have determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace. If America is involved because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. This was released by Trump in a statement on Truth Social after the Oval Office meeting, and continues, I don't want advantage. I want peace. He disrespected the United States of America and its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he's ready for peace. Zelensky, however, while leaving the Oval Office and the White House itself, has not yet left Washington, D.C., and still has an option to return to the negotiating table before returning to Ukraine. So, look, I've been saying this for a while. Zelensky is an up-jump mob boss. Zelensky is an up-jump mob boss. He's a half-assed comedian, I say that because I work with comedians that are a hell of a lot funnier than he is, and I know this. Hell, I used to do improv stand-up on open mic nights, and I'm pretty sure I was probably funnier than he is. But then again, when you say that, people automatically assume you're not funny, because when you have to tell people you are, they don't believe you. So it doesn't matter. But I say all of this to you because the very same thing that the left has been trying to say about Donald Trump has been being personified by Volodymyr Zelensky. And it's just the truth of it. And the simple fact of the matter is the president and the people that voted for the president are tired of being made to feel like we're being taken advantage of, because that's exactly how we feel. Everybody takes advantage of our kindness and sees it as weakness until we are almost nearly drained and on life support. And this is where we are, folks. I need to remind you that we have a 3-point-something trillion dollar deficit and way, way, way more debt. I don't really understand how there's a difference between deficit and debt, but hey, I'll run with it. I never really have understood those two different categories, because as far as I'm concerned, they should be one and the same. But that's just, that's some sort of creative accountant thing that happens in the government level, because that's not how it works in the household. But again, and I did do, changing gears again, I did do my yet again obligatory sweep through the news cycles to look or the news information to see if I could see any update from either Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, or the FBI. And yet again. So my question is, when are we going to do something about the blatant treason? And I understand there've been some big fireworks today. I get that. But I mean, this is borderline, if not actual treason, when the head of the DOJ and the FBI director are claiming to be on the same page, and a subdivision of the FBI, otherwise known as the Southern District of New York's FBI office, are basically saying no. And here's the thing that I find the most interesting, because I'm hearing rumblings and I've seen a few things here and there about people that are the higher ups in the SDNY division or branch or what the hell ever they want to call themselves, that are convinced that they have enough allies within the FBI and DOJ to keep Kash Patel under control. This is a blatant power struggle. I mean, look, we can't use the word insurrection because it ain't got violent yet at all, but it's treasonous. When you have a president that says, no, I want this information declassified, and then you have a the head of the head of the DOJ, the Attorney General, saying, hey, we want this information declassified. Kash Patel, hey, we want this information declassified. But here's the thing, and this is something that I would have expected to have happened today and have everybody have seen it, and it didn't, and this is why I am starting to get more and more frustrated, because Kash Patel is somebody that is willing to break things to fix them. That's how he's been sold. And as far as I'm concerned, he should have been on his way to the Southern District of New York field office. I mean, like, hey, taking marshals with him, Secret Service, whoever the hell he needed to take with him, and gone in and just put everybody in cuffs and locked down the building. That should have happened yesterday. And it didn't. It should have happened today. And so far it hasn't. Keep in mind, I live in God's time zone, so for me it's only 1:13 in the afternoon. But East Coast time, it's already 2:13. If this was going to be happening, we probably would have seen something about it by now. And again, I'm not saying this because of hurt feelings. I'm saying this because there are very powerful people embroiled in this mess, and we, the American people, deserve to know who they are. So, one, if it's people that we've been frequenting businesses of, we can decide if we want to keep frequenting those businesses. Two, if it's people that we've been voting for, we can decide whether we want to keep voting for them or not. This is why we deserve to know. But there's another very blatant and basic reason why you and I deserve to know. And it's one that I've only heard a handful of people talking about. And that's actually the real reason for the First Amendment. The real reason for the First Amendment is not for you to be able to jump up on your soapbox and say whatever the hell you want to say, whenever the hell you want to say it. The real reason for the First Amendment is we are supposed to be the people that run this country. Now, granted, we have a representative republic. So we vote for people that we believe are listening to the things that we tell them, and we send them to DC to do the things that we tell them to do when we tell them to do them, because we as Americans are Mojo Jojo. Not really, but I feel that way sometimes, especially when I'm mad. But again, that's the real reason for the First Amendment. It's the freedom and the flow of information. And remember, in this economy, this new economy that's emerging, information is power. There are people that have captured lightning in a bottle already from this new economy, and a lot of people are starting to feel like maybe it's not going to be able to be repeated anywhere. But I'm here to tell you it can be. I've been doing this now full time for over a year. Things are tight sometimes. I don't always get to eat all the things that I used to like to get to eat, but my bills are getting paid. My kids are okay. My lights are on. I mean, you can see I have lights on. I have internet. I have a computer that's running. I have a camera. Everything's working the way it's supposed to. But I say all of this to you because that is the primary reason for the existence of the First Amendment, is so you, as somebody who's supposed to be an informed part of the electorate, can make the best decision possible by knowing what it is that your government is doing, when your government is doing it, how much it's costing you, and whether you feel like they should be doing it or not in the first place. But because we abdicated that responsibility at this point going on over a century ago, and then plugged ourselves into the very machine that a lot of us are now trying to fight, and then started allowing people to become gatekeepers to our information, and then started spoon feeding us only the things that they thought we deserved to know. That is the absolute most prideful thing that has pissed me off from the moment that I have understood it has been happening, is all of the people that have decided that they are better than us and smarter than us and they deserve the information, but we don't. And you know where that started? And I know I'm all over the place today, but all of this ties into the same damn problem. This started all the way back with the Rockefellers because during the Industrial Revolution, John Rockefeller decided he needed to figure out a way to make sure that people were just smart enough to use his machinery, but not really smart enough to ask important questions. So he started commissioning research. Once he commissioned the research and was able to find out the amount of time, he started doing all kinds of philanthropical things and helping to open schools. And that's when everything went from usually, first grade to eighth grade to all of a sudden now there's this new thing called, I don't even think kindergarten was a thing quite yet. I think that came a little bit later. But he figured out, after commissioning all these different research grants and everything else and having people figure it out, that it takes about 12 years to indoctrinate someone. Lo and behold, all of a sudden our education system, other than higher education, started lasting for about 12 years. This is why they don't teach you the things that you absolutely do need to know. They should be teaching you how money works. They should be teaching you how debt works. They should be teaching you how your credit line works. They should be teaching you about what you can do to invest in things that ensure that you build wealth over time. But they don't want you to know those things because they are now the chosen few and you are the plebs on the other side of the drawbridge. That drawbridge is the middle class. Ladies and gentlemen, they, and I mean on both sides of the aisle, have been hacking away at that drawbridge known as the middle class for as long as I have been alive. And then one side will say, if you vote for us, we're going to fix it. And then it gets even worse for the middle class. Then the other side says, if you vote for us, we'll actually fix it. And then it yet again gets even worse for the middle class. I've only seen 2 actual presidents in my lifetime try to do things and accomplish things that have actually helped the middle class, and they were excoriated by the media. And if you ask people today, they will still tell you that Reagan's idea of trickle-down economics did not work. I'm here to tell you that it did. They will tell you that Trump's budget policies and everything else did not work the first time and they won't work the second time. I'm here to tell you that they did. I used to work for a university. I got raises while Trump was in office, several of them in a university setting. The one right here on the hat. Because the policies work. When you get government out of everybody's business, it makes things easier. It makes things better. And I'm not saying there don't need to be guardrails. The EPA is a good thing. In its original inception, it was designed to make sure that we didn't have smog and that we had clean water. And then it became this entirely new Leviathan thing, bullshit thing that it is right now. And it's being undone. And it should be. Because every branch of our government, every subset, every sub-agency, every created monstrosity within it has been politicized. And if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, I again would like to point you to the field office for the FBI of the Southern District of New York, who is basically blatantly ignoring an order from the DOJ head, Pam Bondi. And again, I have huge issues with what happened with Pam Bondi yesterday, but only because we seem like for the first time in forever, we were hitting on almost every single cylinder. And I knew it wasn't going to last for forever. But this leaves the taste in my mouth of exactly what I was afraid of, that this is just going to be each side doing the same thing that they always do and telling us and promising us things are going to be different, and then they're not. All right, so just because it's fun and because I feel like this is a great time to bring this up, and only because this will help with your leftist friends whose heads are going to be exploding today, because we know it's coming. Their heads are going to be exploding over what just happened in the Oval Office. This is from NBC News. Anybody remember when this happened? Anybody? Anybody? Bueller. War in Ukraine. Biden lost temper with Zelensky in June phone call when Ukrainian leader asked for more. Biden had hardly finished telling Zelensky he just greenlighted another $1 billion in military assistance when the Ukrainian president started listing all of the additional help he needed. Now, the funny thing is, I guarantee you NBC News won't be mentioning this today when they talk about the supposed blow up in the Oval Office. I don't see it as a blow up, though. I see it as a stern warning to the man that has gotten billions and billions and billions of our dollars that the gravy train is ending. And that if you're not willing to sue for peace, then we don't know how to help you. Because this is to a point exactly what I knew was going to happen. This man is convinced that with us backing him up and supplying him with the equipment that he needs, that he can get Putin out of everything Ukrainian, including Crimea, and get back to pre-2014 borders. I'm telling you right now, that is going to be nearly impossible because several different reasons. And I got to this, I was getting to this earlier, and then I got distracted by everything that was going on. So we're going to go over it again now. One of the reasons that Putin is pushing so hard into Crimea and several other parts of Ukraine is because those populations are predominantly Russian. Russia's population is shrinking. He needs fresh blood. Now, whether you feel like they're propaganda polls or not, and I don't really know because I haven't looked at the data within them, there are several different polls coming out saying that the people that actually are Russian inside of Ukraine are kind of fine with rejoining Russia. My problem with that is if that was true, why didn't they just go back to Russia? All of this could be solved in several different ways, especially if the people that speak Russian and are Russian within Ukraine are fine with going home. Just let them go home. They don't necessarily need the territories, but there's another reason he wants the territory. Everybody forgets about the large Soviet Union naval base that was right there. And you know who dropped the ball with all this shit? It wasn't the Republicans. It was the Democrats. Again. That's the thing. And I'm going to point this out again. If Donald Trump was the Russian stooge that everybody said that he was, why the fuck didn't Russia walk into Ukraine while he was in office? And Donald Trump just throw up his, I don't know what we can do. No, Donald Trump's the one that was actually giving them weapons to try to make sure that it didn't go any further. Because of the fact that they waltzed into Ukraine and waltzed into Crimea, nobody did anything about it. And he knew it was eventually going to come to this. So those are Putin's motivations on top of the fact that Ukraine was pushing for entry into NATO. Which, I'm sorry again, if suddenly Canada or Mexico was pushing for entry into the Warsaw Pact and it was still a thing, I'm pretty sure we would have been pretty pissed off and probably started sending soldiers that direction. Just saying. So then, fast forward, the election is lost. The withdrawal from Afghanistan continues with somebody at the head of it that has absolutely no fucking idea what's going on from one minute to the next. And it gives us the impression on the world stage that we are absolutely fucking retarded now. Do you not think that helped embolden Vladimir Putin? So that was one of the bigger pieces. Now let's rewind for a second. Day one, like from the moment the second he took his hand off the Bible, dude walks into the Oval Office and says, I'm signing executive orders today to undo a lot of the things that our previous administration has done, and I'm starting with the Keystone XL pipeline. There were thousands of oil workers that lost their job on day one of Joe Biden's administration. I didn't hear any of the media weeping and wailing and lamenting the way they have over the federal Leviathan actually having a few thousand jobs shredded off. We're talking about millions of employees, and so far they've gotten rid of what, 200,000 maybe? Oh my God, the humanity. There were some right-leaning outlets that let people come on and make noise loudly about it, and everybody made fun of them. Anybody remember the whole learn to code thing? Maybe these oil workers should learn to code. Maybe these federal idiots should too. One of the things that I found the most entertaining about all of this was a federal employee who did an interview after it was announced that he was being laid off and said, I knew it was like this in corporate America. I was told it was different in the government. That's the problem because it shouldn't be. Look, I get it. Everybody loves job security. Everybody loves the idea of being able to get a job where you can do half the things that you used to do and still get either the same amount of pay or more pay. And you're guaranteed to keep the job because no matter how bad you fuck up, they don't want to get rid of you because you're a government employee. Remember, used to be one. There are things I could tell you about when I first started working there that is people that if other people that have done call center work would be like, well, holy shit, no wonder you wanted to start trying to go to work there. And then we started trying to treat it like corporate America because we had to, because they were dangerously close to losing the contract that I was part of. So there were lots of changes that started being made, and there were lots of people that were let go. But guess what? It's what had to be done. We are in that stage in America, folks. I have been saying this from the moment the man was sworn back in. America is a cancer patient on the operating table. We have one of two choices. We can either continue the operation until all of the cancer is excised, or we can stop the operation, put America on palliative care, and let it pass away in a peaceful slumber. Those are the options. Because it's dying. It's not dead yet, but it's dying. I don't want it to die. I don't think you want it to die. But there are people that want that. But they're the ones that are trying to tell you that they don't. Because they're fighting to save our democracy. They're fighting because Donald Trump is thwarting the Constitution. You tell me how a commander-in-chief making decisions about his military is thwarting the Constitution. Because guess what? It is his military. He is the commander-in-chief. You may not like it. It may put a bad taste in your mouth. But saying that people that need permanent wound care can't be a part of our military is not a dictatorial move. One, it's a cost-saving measure because that's stupid. That means you and I are paying for the surgeries. You and I are then paying for the medications that they will be on for the rest of their lives so that they can live in the fucking land of make-believe. Is that what you want to pay for? Because it's not what I want to pay for. You know what? If you're an adult and you want to live life like a woman and you're willing to pay for it yourself, then that's fine. I don't care. If you want to live in the land of make-believe and you are an adult, that is your business. But don't expect me to join you there. Especially don't expect me to help you pay for it. Now we're bleeding into things starting to affect our children. We have girls that have been in sports for years, that have trained their hearts out, that have given everything to their goal of being the best they can in their sport. And then some 20th rate dude decides he wants to throw on a dress in senior year so that he can finally win a fucking medal. And everybody's like, oh, she's so brave. No, he's a fucking loser who put on a dress because he couldn't win as a dude. We're letting child molesters into the same bathrooms with our little girl because it makes us feel better and we feel morally superior. Fuck every single one of you who thought this was a good idea. With a rusty mace and push it as deep as you can in whatever orifice you decide to put it into. We're done playing by your rules. We're done playing about being the world's piggy bank, the world's world police, the world's hospital. Because guess what? All of these countries that all the Democrats tout that have, they have universal health care. And it's amazing. And it's awesome. You know why they have it? Because we're fucking paying for it. That's why they have it. You, me, and every taxpayer who has ever put a dime into the system are making sure that these other countries that get to thumb their noses at us because we don't have it get to have universal health care. You know how we found it out? Because all of a sudden USAID wasn't paying for shit anymore. And then there were these third world little fucking shithole countries that supposedly had universal health care, that 77-year-old women were dying because they didn't have access to their oxygen anymore because USAID wasn't paying for it anymore. If you've got universal health care, why the fuck do I need to pay for it? Unless you live here. Do you want to have a conversation about universal health care? Let's have an honest conversation about universal health care. I guarantee you, when you see what it actually is, and they show you what it actually is, because that's all they ever hear, real communism works when it's tried. It's just never really been tried before. Then why is there not a single example of it working? If you know for a fact real communism works, show me an example in history. Just one. Find me one. You can't. You know why? Because real communism has been tried and it fucking sucks. That's why. Freedom is hard. This is one of the things that drives me crazy about the nanny state. If we are going to live in a free society, then we have to understand that not everybody's going to play by our damn rules. So there have to be limits about how far we're going to push things when they decide to not play by our damn rules. As long as they're not hurting anybody else, I don't really give a shit what they do. I don't care if you're in your own car and you decide you don't want to put your seatbelt on that day. You know what? That's none of my fucking business as long as you are free, white, and over 21. And I know that's a terrible thing to say anymore, but I don't give a shit. Wrong button. Hang on. Let me fix that. All right. We are long. Got to take the final break. And I know it was a shorter show than usual, but I was trying to do a good deed. And you know what they say, no good deed goes unpunished. That's all I'm saying about that, though. Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Talented Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home. You can be safe. There's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunnel2towers.org.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment of the abbreviated Friday edition of the Rick Robinson Show, because it has been an abbreviated Friday edition. We haven't done some of the fun things that we do. Like normally I play a Friday-centric intro every hour. Usually try to give a shout out to the armed forces. So again, just want everybody that, whether you are a first responder or have ever served in the armed forces, thank you very much for your service. Want to get that out of the way since I didn't really have time to play the usual today. Oh, let's see. What else is going on in the news? Still haven't heard anything from Pam Bondi. Not that I'm really that surprised. Looks like Adam Schiff may have stepped on it again. This is from Rebecca Downs. Again, Dateline today. Apparently, according to the town hall, Adam Schiff just put out one of the most ridiculous posts on prices. So let's see what this is about, just for fun. Let's see. So Democrats have been ranting and raving about prices since the first day of President Donald Trump's second term. I will say he kind of created that mess because he was the one that said day one, I'm going to lower prices. What he should have said, and I get it, never take him literally, but do take him seriously, was from day one, I'm going to do everything I can to start the process to make sure that your prices are lower. Because he has been doing that. And the thing about it is, there's a story that if we have time, I'm going to get to today. There are actually reports that thanks to some of the cost-cutting measures that are happening all over the place, it looks like it's signaling to folks that interest rates might actually be falling again, which is good for me and you. So we may look at that today, and if not, we may get to it Monday night, because I do believe there will be an America Off the Rails on Monday night. I still haven't heard from the ladies of the red wine, and I don't want to let the spot go. So anyway, so despite how bad inflation was and was made worse under President Joe Biden, and we've covered exactly how the top Democrats in the House minority, and including Leader Hakeem Jeffries, have been focused on the issue of prices. But now Senator Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff, Democrat California, has put out a particularly ridiculous post, even by his standards, especially when the context of the situation is lacking. As food prices soar higher, only large corporations are doing well. So let me put the post on the screen so you guys can see it. I know some of you are like, I watched this from my phone and I can't read it anyway. It still makes me feel better because then you can see that I am actually trying to use sources. As food prices soar higher, only large corporations are doing well. Donald Trump's tax breaks for billionaires equals less for the middle class. Less fairness, less security, less money in your pocket, less chance to save, less for you. So I'm going to say this again because I don't think the article is going to touch on this. If billionaires are paying taxes at all, that means they're fucking retarded billionaires, because they have enough money that they should have been able to start doing things like putting together family trusts and business trusts and property trusts. So anytime they ever want to do anything, all they have to do is go into what has now become their personal bank and pull out money that they have access to within these trusts to then either pay bills if they need to, make more investments if they need to, buy new properties and renovate them if they need to then fold them into the new property to the same property trust that they don't have to pay taxes on because it's money that is considered a debt. Now, the upside to these trusts, and again, remember this ties into something I was talking about earlier, where if they actually taught you about money, you would learn how to be self-sufficient and wouldn't need the government anymore. But they don't want that for you because that's just it. Think about this for a second. A lot of you have had this same speech, and most of you, just like me, are kicking yourself in the ass for not taking your dad's advice when he sat you down and talked to you probably when you were about 14, 15 years old, like my dad did. When at 14, I was and 13 and 14, I was mowing lawns, etc. And he said, you really need to open a savings account instead of just taking all this money that you're making and going to the stores that you like and buying things. And you don't know what you're talking about, old man. So then I got my first job at 15 and a half. And he said, now that you're getting a paycheck, this is what you need to do. And I really want you to listen to me. He said, you need to take $20 a week of that money, whether you're paid weekly or biweekly. You need to take $20 a week, which means, $20 if you're paid every week, $40 if you're paid every 2 weeks, and you need to put it in your savings account and you need to just leave it there. And he said, I promise if you do this, by the time you are my age, you will be a millionaire. And I didn't do it. Now, granted, the rules in the banking industry have changed, etc. So I'm not saying I would have been a complete billionaire by then, but it would have been my money that at some point I then could have taken and then either invested in a higher yield savings account or put into one of these universal life insurance policies that not only builds cash value that you can draw from, especially if you are smart enough to take the lowest death benefit possible, because then everything pours in to the money side that then gives you basically an access to a line of credit that you don't even necessarily have to pay back. It's good for you if you do, but here's the upside to this all over the place. So not only can these people pull out of these trusts to pay their bills when they need to, buy new properties, buy new planes, whatever, don't have to pay any taxes on it because they're technically taking on a debt. But let's say there's $4 million in there and they pull out two because they want to pay for a new property. So the new property they want to buy is $1.5 million. They're anticipating $500,000 worth of renovations. And then they're either going to rent it out or sell it off for probably double what they paid for it. So let's just do that math real quick. So there was $4 million in there. Now there's two. But guess what? The interest doesn't draw for the remaining two because the anticipation is that either the debt is going to be repaid or when the death benefit pays, the debt is going to be repaid. So it continues and folded right back into the trust again. So it continues to draw the same amount of interest with half as much money. These are the things they've never wanted you to know. These are the things that everybody says, if you found a time machine and you were able to go back and tell your 18-year-old self one thing, what would it be? Listen to your dad about the savings account and do it today. Because it would have changed the entire trajectory of my life. And again, we are doing okay. So I don't want you to feel like this is coming from a place of panic. I'm just trying to make you guys understand they don't want you to succeed because if they did, they would teach you how to succeed in school. That used to be the entire point of school was to make sure that you were a self-sufficient American by the time you left school. They don't want that anymore. So it's not what it's about. But so you've got the Democrats talking about this stuff. And the funny thing is, and again, I really wish there were people on the right that were hitting back harder about this stuff because everybody forgets. Because remember all the victory laps the media took after Biden figured out that he wasn't going to be in office anymore, no matter what? And they started talking about all the executive orders and all the steps that he was taking to sabotage the incoming administration, no matter who it was, and all the debt bombs and everything else that he had set to go off after Inauguration Day. Because I remember, and guess what? Pepperidge Farm fucking remembers too. That's the problem. We have all of these things that are exploding. Joe Biden was able to keep Medicare costs low by kicking the can down the road. Guess what? Those bills are now coming due. That's one of the reasons why the left is now screaming and yelling that the right wants to cut your Medicare and your Medicaid. because it's going to look like they have, whether they do or not, because everybody's prices are about to go way the fuck up because they just kept kicking the can down the road. And at some point, he stopped caring because guess what? He wasn't going to be in charge one way or the other. You know, another thing that broke today that I thought was absolutely hilarious is apparently Donald Trump has released a statement about a conversation that he had with Joe Biden after he won the election. And when he asked him, Joe Biden specifically said, "No, I don't really blame Kamala Harris." He said, "I blame Barack Obama. And I blame Nancy Pelosi." Now, at the same time this story is being broken, apparently Sideshow Bob or Corinne Jean Air or Token McCarpet Muncher, whatever name you want to call her, has basically made a statement about how that 3-week span where everything blew up was one of the hardest times in her life because she watched the entire party turn on Joe Biden and she'd never seen anything like it before. I'm sorry, I don't have any sympathy for you. You were one of the people that was lying to the American people about this man's condition. And also, until that very moment when they decided, hey, there's no fucking way this guy can win. He looks like a deer in headlights on this debate stage. They seem to have forgotten that the only reason supposedly 81 million people voted for him in the first place was because he was going to be a transitional candidate. And he was going to make sure that somebody much more young and much more capable than he was the one that ran for a second term. And then he got it in his head that he was the only one that could beat Donald Trump. You know, the scary thing is he might have been right. Because the entire party has imploded since. This is why yesterday was so important, because now we've given them handholds as they're hanging onto the side of the cliff. Because guess what? One of the first things they said about Pam Bondi is she's not competent enough to do this job. Pam Bondi made herself look incompetent not only yesterday, but the day before. These are what are called unforced errors. And I'm not laying all the blame at her feet, but I'm saying this was a PR fiasco and she should have known better. And she should have just been honest with us. And she could have been. This is the administration that keeps calling itself the most transparent administration in American history. And you know what? Up until yesterday, it pretty much had been. And then we saw some of the same shit that the other side used to try to pull. And that's why all of us were like, what the hell is this? What is this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this in this fashion? Why are you putting out this information that almost everybody already knows? Why didn't you tell us that? Why didn't you make that clear? Why didn't you make clear that you have been reaching out to field offices within the FBI to verify that you have all of the information and that you have not been getting responses? Those were things that could have been fixed. Those were things that should have been addressed. Those were, I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Attorney General of the United States can call a press conference. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Attorney General of the United States can call a press conference. Pretty sure I've seen it happen before. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm old, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it happen before. All right, so we're getting to the happy story part of the Friday program. So happy story number one that I've been able to find. Well, happy story number one was Donald Trump throwing Zelensky out on his ass. That was an amazing happy story, and the left is going to tell you it wasn't, but it absolutely is. So this is from Leah Burkus from Town Hall. English will soon become the official U.S. language. I'm sorry, but as far as I'm concerned, this should have happened a long time ago. President Donald Trump is expected. Hang on, my computer's being retarded. Go away. President Donald Trump is expected to sign an executive order on Friday that makes English the official U.S. language. The move will rescind a Clinton-era mandate that required federal agencies and recipients of federal funding to provide language assistance. Now, these agencies will have the flexibility to determine whether to offer services in languages other than English. Though the order encourages new Americans to adopt the national language that opens doors to greater opportunities. Through the order, President Trump affirms that a common language fosters national cohesion. Well, no shit. Helps newcomers engage in communities and traditions and enriches our shared culture. Now, the left is about to have a fucking meltdown over this, I guarantee you, but nothing that's being said in this is wrong. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, most Americans, more than 78% of which, speak only English at home. But millions of Americans primarily speak other languages, such as Spanish, Chinese, and Tagalog. Dozens of Native American languages are also spoken in the U.S. I'm sorry, Tagalog, not tag along. I was like, what the? I must have missed. More than 30 states have passed legislation to designating English as their official language. Since the civil rights movement of the 1960s, several laws have been passed to provide services or equal opportunities for non-English speaking people in the U.S. Republicans in Congress have also tried unsuccessfully to pass legislation making English the national language. Vice President J.D. Vance introduced the English Language Unity Act when he served as a U.S. Senator from Ohio. The proposed bill, co-sponsored by Senator Kevin Cramer, Republican, North Dakota, called for the federal government to conduct all official business in English and introduce a language testing standard for a pathway to citizenship. The move was praised on social media, and then I guess this is talking about the EO. This is from Eric Schmidt. Excellent. This is long overdue. America is not just an abstract idea, it is a nation and a people with our own distinct history, heritage, culture, and language. In this country, we speak English. It's about time our laws reflected that. I think this is more important than anybody wants to admit, though. And there's another angle to this that nobody's really talking about. 40% of our fourth graders can't read at level. It goes down even further by the time they hit eighth grade. Bye, Aggie. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in a few hours. Oh, so I think this is important because this actually starts forcing people to learn the language. Or I don't even want to say forcing because that's not the right word. It encourages them to learn the language because, again, agencies are still going to be able to decide for themselves if they want the extra expense to put out different materials in different languages in different places. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be afforded the ability to communicate. I'm saying that English is important to understand if you're going to become an American citizen. And since that is our goal, is for all of these people that are here on these visas and everything else to either eventually go home when they're done with their visas or to make sure that while they're on the visas, they start the process to become an American citizen. This is an important thing. I think not only should this become a thing, I think that Donald Trump should sign an executive order immediately, basically commanding that at the national level, every American student has to pass the same citizenship exam that a newly minted citizen has to pass. Because you want to start having a you want to start raising kids that have a better understanding of our history, start making them be able to pass the citizenship test. You want people that have a better grasp of reading, start making them pass the citizenship test. Because it's going to force them to read things that are already difficult to read for a lot of kids because in a lot of places they don't even teach cursive anymore. And I get it. Before anybody yells at me, the script that they use to write the Constitution and everything else isn't technically called cursive. It's called something else, but it's basically just a super fancy version of cursive. So if you can read cursive, you can usually read it. And that's another reason why I think it's important. And even for my youngest son, by the time he was in third grade, the week that they were supposed to start teaching cursive, they stopped teaching it. And he hated me because I at least made him learn how to read it. I'm like, look, I can't write in cursive for shit. I can sign my name. Everything else is usually block letters or typed because most everything I do is electronic now anyway. So I'm not going to yell at you for not understanding how to write in cursive, but I do want you to understand how to be able to read cursive. Because the other thing that I have noticed is all of our founding documents have started transitioning into digital documents that are available online. They have started modernizing the language. And a lot of it seems innocuous at first, but so did a lot of the changes that came with what is now the transgender movement and everything else. Like in the Declaration of Independence, it now says, instead of saying every man is created equal, everyone is created equal. I'm sorry. The word man used to be universal because we were mankind. So it's not about offending you. It's about a common understanding of a root word and a common understanding of a language. And this is my entire point as we close out the show, as my final happy story. Since we are moving away from the land of make-believe, can we move away from the land of the perpetually offended? One of the craziest things I have seen all week, and I hope everybody that listens to this show takes advantage of what this will create for you, is that the left is boycotting every form of capitalist business today. I saw a post from somebody who was in an airport who was saying, I'm so hungry, but since it's show the evil assholes your power day, I refuse to buy anything to eat. You know what? Probably should have packed a lunch and maybe ate it in the car before you got into the airport. Because thanks to the TSA, you ain't taking a lunch through the line, but you still could have ate something before you got in line. And apparently you didn't do that. So, final happy story to everyone who is listening. I hope you take advantage of what I'm assuming will be a Karen-free shopping day. Because it should be. Karen, Margaret, Heather, depending on your age, either of these, all of these names will be acceptable. All right, so we're going to get out of here, folks. Don't forget, coming up tonight, back at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, He Said, She Said, with myself and the lovely Aggie Rican. Topic TBD, because we haven't texted yet. But we'll figure it out. Once I know and she knows, you guys will know. I'll be back tomorrow night pushing buttons for Front Porch Forensics first at their new time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern. And then myself and Ordnance Packard back on our regular night on Juxtaposition. If you missed it, you should go check it out. We did a makeup with a new host that is joining our lineup, who was a guest that night, otherwise known as Datahawk on X. So you should go back and check that out in the meantime. I know everybody's yelling at me because we're behind on the archives. It's not my fault. Spreaker used to let us do live feeds so I could cheat and be broadcasting the audio format at the same time. And I just, once I hit the stop button, it was automatically there. Now I have to go through and pull the audios and clean them up and get them posted. I promise that will be happening this weekend because unfortunately, I've hurt myself more than anyone else from being sick because I lost some content that I can't get back now. All right, we've got to go. That's it. We're out of time. This one's over.
What? Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the woods.
This isn't over until I say it's over!
Closing time.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? Game over, man. It's game over.
Closing time. Time for you to go out to the places you will be from. Closing time. This room won't be open till your brothers or your sisters come.
I love you, Oklahoma. What a great crowd. I love you.
Say goodnight, Gracie.